This is the Horse Radio Network.
Every horse girl dreams of owning their own farm one day. But are they really prepared for all the work that's involved? This week, we're celebrating Pain Baby number 2, discussing turnout politics, and how much does it really cost to show in Wellington anyway? From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Justine Griffin.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 64 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
Happy 2020.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. This is our first one of the year.
We've got exciting news to share, but this episode, it's just me and Ellie because Jess is away being a new mom. Jess and Doug are celebrating the arrival of their beautiful baby girl, Abigail. So congrats to Jess and Doug.
Yes, she's so cute. Have you seen the photos, Justine?
Oh my gosh, she's adorable. Super cute. And I love the photos that they've posted of Hudson, meeting his new baby sister. So cute.
Yeah, we'll see how he does with divided attention.
Yeah, right? So don't worry, Jess will be back in no time, but we're happy that she's getting time to spend with her family right now. So this episode is brought to you by EcoGold. As you all know, if you're a longtime listener, we are huge fans of EcoGold on this podcast. And I want to talk to you more about the EcoGold Flip Half Pad. It is by far the best half pad I've ever bought. And I've had many through my lifetime of horseback riding. I have the sapphire blue and white pad. And describing the colors is important because you get 2 colors in one pad. And it actually flips. So I can use the white side of the pad when I'm at horse shows. And then I have the blue side of the pad, which is a really beautiful, bright blue color for schooling and when I'm in the jumpers. But my favorite thing about the Flip Half Pad is the thickness. I know people sometimes have questions about this because when you're shopping for a half pad, you want something that's going to give your horse some support to protect his back, but you don't want it too thick, right? Where it's like too smushed under the saddle. And I find the Flip Half Pad to be just the right amount of thickness. I can definitely see the difference in my horse, especially after jumping in it. It just really keeps him comfortable. That extra cushion from the EcoGold fabric really makes a difference in my rides. I literally do not ride without it. So, Ellie, I know that you have a few other EcoGold pads, but are you in the market for a half pad?
I should be. I want to. It's on my list of things to buy, but right now I have one for my Western horses, and then I have just like the jumper pad for my hunt seat horses, which I'm in love with. But I want one so bad, but I can't warrant to Matt. I'm like, hey, I know I have all these cats, but can I also get this half pad? So I'm gonna wait it out. Maybe for my birthday.
Keep working on them. You'll get one.
Yeah.
So if you want to check out a half pad for yourself, you can view them by going to EcoGold, which is ECOGOLD.ca.
So, Justine, I have a drink this week, and I hope that Jess is with us in spirit, enjoying. She's breastfeeding, so she still can't drink. Well, that's sucky. But anyway, this is a watermelon and lime or mint mimosa. So you use a mortar and a pestle and muddle mint until fragrant. Add cubed watermelon, mint, and agave, which is optional, to the blender and blend until smooth. Using a wire mesh strainer, you drain the juice into a large bowl or pitcher and remove the pulp. And then with a champagne flute tilted at a 45-degree angle, not sure how important that is, but you gotta, be sure. Slowly fill the glass halfway with champagne, top with watermelon mint juice, and garnished with a lime wedge, mini watermelon slice, and a mint leaf.
Cute. So I've had this drink. My husband and I went on a road trip after the holidays, for New Year's, and we were at a brunch place up in northern Florida, and they served this type of mimosa. It was specifically watermelon and lime, and oh my God, it changed my life, Ellie. It was so good.
I love anything mimosa, so
and it's it's an easy thing to make at home too, So I
Yeah, I'm
recommend
gonna have
it.
to try this one.
Yeah, do it.
This is
You
one
won't regret
I'll take the time to make this one.
it. I don't think you have to like muddle things so much, like you could do it like a lazy, sloppy way and it'll still taste good.
There you go. See, that's the way I like to do things. Halfway. Justine, have you seen the video of Kanye West falling off a horse?
Well, yes, but I know it's complicated, right? There's like a conspiracy theory behind this.
Okay, so apparently it was believed on the internet that Kanye West rode this horse into a church, but turns out like it wasn't Kanye, but the internet was like, it's Kanye West. So that was just really strange because the internet freaked out that this was happening. And I didn't really see the video is funny. I don't care who it is falling off. It's entertaining. But it's just kind of odd that the internet cared so much about Kanye West falling off a horse.
So we talked a long time ago. I don't think you were on the podcast then, but we had a news item about like someone riding a horse into a nightclub. And
yes, I remember that episode.
Yeah, and we were like horrified for this poor horse. So why don't you describe what happened in the video? Like when the horse finally dumped this person who was not Kanye, what happened?
Oh my gosh. So the horse is just like, where do I go? I felt so bad for him. I mean, it's just like, why? I don't understand the intrigue in the first place of bringing a horse to church, but who knows? I
don't get it either. Like, just the amount of work required in the get-go. Like, why would you do this? Oh my goodness! But it is a funny video. We'll link to it so you guys can watch it and laugh too. We don't think anyone actually got seriously hurt, horse or rider.
No.
But yeah,
and
but
it wasn't Kanye, so all West fans can calm down. It's all right.
Oh my gosh. So Ellie, I found an interesting story by Horse Sport, which is a European equestrian publication, and I'll just read you the headline. It says, "Fun in the Sun: The Costs of Showing in Wellington." And if you haven't read this, yeah, I would totally recommend it because one, some of the costs will make your jaw drop, but two, it's written in a perspective of like Europeans looking at Wellington, like looking into Wellington and looking at the costs compared to what they're used to in terms of fees and stuff to show it at a pretty high level. And you could just tell that even like, professionals who show at the upper levels in Europe, like the price does not compare to what you're going to spend in Wellington. So, I can't verify where they found these figures, but I would hope that they, verified them with the Winter Equestrian Festival. But so the first figure that stands out to me is they're saying, WEF, it takes place for 12 weeks. So if you want a permanent stable on the showgrounds during this period, you're going to pay $3,750. And I'm thinking like, stable, they use the term stable, and I'm thinking that means just one stall, right? Like that's just a European.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So okay. So you're 12 weeks is a long time.
Right.
Okay.
So that's not that different than like a normal stay away show. It's just like an extended period of time.
Right. So if you only want to come for a week, the Horse Sport article says you'll pay $450 per stable. So
that's how much I used to pay a month at my my boarding facility.
Yep. So, and then they talk about it's very common for competitors at WEF to rent like private stables, like actual like real farms out around WEF, and then people just hack out to the horse show grounds. And they estimate that the prices to rent, and rent a farm or rent a stall in that area can range from $1,000 to $2,000 per stable per month. Which I mean, having lived in South Florida, that that estimate sounds correct to me. So, but so then when you get, Go
Were
ahead.
the Europeans surprised? Like, is this normal for like what they pay at away shows, or were they like, this is outrageous?
I think it's significantly more than what they pay. So the next part of the article gets into like how the horse show fees, like the entry fees, vary. So like anyone who's going to do a CSI 2-star in Belgium is going to pay around 400 euros, excluding any taxes. But if you're going to show at like the 2-star level in Wellington, you're going to pay like $2,226.
Wow.
So that's a significant jump. And that's just they're saying that $2,000 figure is the deposit for the entry fee. And then it is common in both Europe and America at WEF that top riders who are competing in these upper level classes have to take a VIP table. So that's kind of part of your entry fee, that you pay for a VIP table within the VIP tent. So, and they're saying that the VIP is divided into 4 rows with corresponding prizes. If you want to pay for your last row in the VIP, you're going to pay $40,000. Where like closer to the front row, you'll pay $50,000, and that could get even higher than that, which sounds a little crazy.
That's a pretty decent horse that could do a 2-star.
I know. So I don't know if that means like that's where sponsors and owners and all those people chip in to have those seats generally. I wish Jess was here because she could answer that question. But and so then the story gets into some other interesting things, like differences in culture around the horse show from a European show to WEF. And when we had Alex Wells on the show, probably more than a year ago now, but when we talked about WEF, she explained how the warm-up ring works and how it's so different than in Europe. So in Europe, like, first of all amateurs and pros, generally speaking, jump in the same class. There's no divisions for amateurs versus pros. Obviously, we know that's not the case at WEF. But for the warm-up ring, generally, like if you're at WEF, you get assigned a fence. So there might be 4 fences in the warm-up arena, and the ring steward will assign you a fence when there's like, I don't know, maybe you've got 5 trips before you go. The steward will assign you a fence, and you get to jump. You're the only person who gets to jump that fence.
That's kind of nice though, because when I went to hit Socrates, it's not like that at all.
Oh, really? And I don't know
like
if
you have to have somebody stand by it and hold it, so that you can actually jump it. It's insane.
And I don't know if like the lower level classes, it's, you know what I mean? It might be different, but that might just be for like pro classes. So in Europe, they say there's usually only like 2 jumps in the warm up. It's, it might be a vertical and an oxer. And all horses generally jump just on the left-hand side. They don't go back and forth. And then, but it's possible to start jumping your horse in the warm-up 20 horses in advance before you go. But in America, you generally, you jump your fence when the ring steward gives you that opportunity. Then you check in with the ring steward and they assign the fence to somebody else. So... yeah, so you should, if you guys are interested in learning more about this, Alex Wells explains it in an earlier episode. So again, if you guys love our podcast, if you love Heels Down Happy Hour, if you love participating in the discussions we have in our Facebook group, please consider donating to our Patreon. Patreon is a platform where you can support a variety of podcasts. Donations can come in any form. If you want to share monthly, if you want to do a one-time donation, but we really appreciate any help you can give us. You help keep the show on the air. You help keep us going, and we love to hear from you. So if you'd like, you can go to Patreon, which is patreon.com, and search for Heels Down Happy Hour.
I heard you have some cool coffee that I might enjoy.
I think you would very much enjoy it. So this was a very exciting week for Heels Down Media. We launched a brand new product. So if you're already a fan of some of our other cool stuff, like our soap for dirty equestrians, I think you're really, really going to love this new product, which is called Barn Cat Hero Coffee. So we launched our own organic coffee, and it's all themed around Barn Cat Hero. Because don't you think your barn cat is a hero? I mean, Ellie, I feel like I'm speaking to our exact audience when I'm talking to you.
Well, right now my barn cat is not a hero because there's a mouse literally living in his bed. But I mean, I guess he distracts them from the grain when he supplies them with his cat food.
Oh my god! When you sent me
But
that
yeah,
picture,
for sure
I
he's a little
died.
hero.
I just died at your poor cat.
I can't handle him. I really can't. And he's an old fart. He doesn't have front teeth, and he's just like, he's pretty pitiful. But yes, he is a hero in his own right.
So Barn Cat Hero, it's a medium roast coffee, and it comes from the mountains of Peru. It's roasted in small batches, and it's developed in small scale wet mills by indigenous farmers in that area. So if you're a big fan of coffee, I was lucky in that I was the taste tester for Heels Down. So I tried a variety of coffees over the last couple of months, and this was hands down my favorite. And I'm so glad that this is the one we picked. I'm trying to describe the taste. So how big of a coffee drinker are you, Ellie? Like, are you like a coffee snob? Do you like it black? Do you like it bitter? What do you like?
I am a snob.
Okay.
So it's more like, do I like coffee with my sugar kind of person.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Like,
okay.
I make coffee like sometimes if I'm having like a real rough week. But I just have like one of those like little like 4-cup makers. And I like it generally pretty strong, but I'm definitely a cream and sugar kind of person.
Okay, gotcha. So I am a black coffee person. I'm like a super like craft snob of coffee. So I like to taste like the real, elements within the coffee. And what I like about this one is as a medium blend, it's not too bitter, it's not too strong. So if you're not into like a really dark roast coffee, or you won't get turned off by this, but it's still like a really bold and rich flavor. And from where where the coffee beans are grown in Peru, you could really taste like some nodes of sugar, like it's a little bit of a sweeter coffee with fruits and berries, but it's really great. I love it. It's a really tasty coffee. I'm big on iced coffee because I live here in Florida, where today it was 82 degrees, and it tastes just as good when you do a cold brew with it as when you brew it hot. And so if you are interested in checking out Barn Cat Hero for yourself, we are selling it on our website. It's barncathero.com. And you can buy a bag either as like ground already, or you can buy beans that you can grind yourself. And we're also offering a subscription service, so you can never run out of coffee again if you'd like. And you can choose your frequency on how often you want to receive it, maybe once a week, every 2 weeks, or a month. And you can find all of that at barncathero.com. Now, Ellie, you got one of the really cute coffee mugs that we've made too, right? For Barn Cat Hero?
I love it. The little icon is so cute. This little, cat in a cape. But it's also just like a really great, like double-walled ceramic, I don't want to say mug because it's taller, but it's got this like silicone top, which is just like perfect because I never have to worry about it leaking. Like, it's awesome. I drink a lot of things from it, not just coffee, and I love, bringing it around, and it keeps my hands warm when it's not 82 degrees in Pennsylvania. But I really like the whole Barn Cat Hero brand because it's so inclusive, like every cat has a barn cat, not just English, not just Western. So I'm super excited about this. I'll have to try it.
You're definitely gonna have to try it. Yeah, and I'm curious to know what you think. But yeah, I love the it's almost like a coffee tumbler. Like, it's in between the tall size and the mug size. And it's like a very nice, like, high-end type ceramic mug, because I love it too. It's perfect. Fits in my truck. Keeps everything hot all day. And you can find all the details for yourself at barncathero.com. You wrote a story on Heels Down Mag this week titled "The Backyard Barn Dilemma." And when I was reading it, you just made me think, because I've always been that person like, hey, one day in my life, I don't know, I'm going to luck into some money and I'm going to convince my husband to leave the city and we're just going to start our own little farm, where I can have my horse in my backyard
And your chickens.
and my chickens and like life will be perfect, right? But I think you really hit the nail on the head that I feel like a lot of us dream of this. When I think of the other women who board at the boarding facility that I'm at, like we all, it sounds so nice in our head, right? To have a barn, but it is a crap ton of work. So I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that. Like, what made you decide to buy your farm and how did you prepare for it? Why don't we start there?
Oh, that's a good question. So at the time, I was boarding at a place where I wasn't really happy. I had just moved to New York after college. And I didn't really like the care my horses were getting, but I also just didn't like the environment. Like the people were really nasty. And that was kind of the best for the area that I was in. So I was kind of stuck. And I was like, well, and it adds up, right? When you are paying for board. For me, I had 3 horses at a time.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it was $450 a month per horse, so I was spending quite a lot on money on just board, not including my supplements and my shoes and everything else. And we were paying, my boyfriend and I, who also has a horse, right? So it was 4 horses total that we had.
Wow.
And we were paying for that and our mortgage, or not our mortgage, our rent for our apartment. And I was like, don't you think this is kind of silly? Like that we're spending so much money for a house, for a, apartment we don't own, and for like land we don't own, to keep our horses. So I started kind of looking on the internet. We had saved up quite a bit of money for emergencies, but it turned into a down payment fund. And I had found this on like horseproperties.net. Have you ever been on that website?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Pinterest. Don't do it. It's so bad, but I mean, of course, I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then you look at the price and it's like $3 million. I'm like, I just threw up in my mouth. But so I was looking at something that was relatively close to where Matt was working and where I was working, because the minimum wage in Pennsylvania is really low. I don't know what it is right now. I think it might be like $9 or $10, but it's much more in New York. So we like to work in the border, or like over the border, but our property taxes are way low in Pennsylvania. So we were like, okay, so if we're going to get a property, we'll get it in Pennsylvania. And so we had found one that was similar to the property we have now in New York, just to give you guys a ballpark of the property taxes. It was about 5 less acres. It was a bigger barn. It had about 20 stalls, and they paid $12,000 a year in property tax.
Okay. Wow.
I pay 4.
Wow. Okay.
For more acreage, So it's so I was like, all right, well, definitely not going to get one in New York, And so we kind of just bit the bullet. And we went in like toward the house, and my house is really weird. It's like 2 houses put together. It's like a double wide trailer, and then they built a custom home on the other side. The people that lived here before were very rich, but didn't know what they were doing with horses. Okay. So they built like this. So to give you an example, they built this really nice barn for the stalls and stuff. Like it's beautiful. It's all like Amish made, but it's like everything has like the bars so the horses can all see each other. It's got cupolas. It's gorgeous, right? But I recently redid my arena because there was no base to my arena whatsoever. So it would just like get wet from groundwater, and like there were like enormous rocks that were like boulders. I mean, it was insane.
Wow. Okay.
So we were like, well, this is definitely going to be like a fixer-upper project, but I said, let's look at like the logistics of it. Matt's an accountant, right? So everything has to make sense in terms of money. So estimating, right, for 4 horses a month, I guessed that with supplements and board, we were spending about $1,050 per month.
Okay.
Then I said, well, if we take out the 450, then we, only be spending about $370.
Okay.
So I said, okay, well, that's like pretty good. Like we're saving some money there. But since I had to prove to Matt that we could do it financially. I mean, and that was just like with mortgage and stuff too. But so I made like this big Excel spreadsheet. I was like, we're gonna do this, Matt. And so for board, I basically pay $80 a month per horse.
That's like your cost for feed and everything?
Yeah, so that's like grain, shavings, and hay. Granted, I do my hay with my neighbor, so I pay $1.50 a bale, which is super cheap. When I was buying it, I was spending about $7 a bale plus like $200 delivery. So that has made a huge difference. But I mean, I still probably spend around $600 a horse, including, shots, dentist, chiropractor, shaving, or supplements, wormer, stuff like that. So I'm definitely still burning a lot of money. But I'm not giving it to somebody else, that's the main drive to that.
Well, and so you've dedicated yourself to, you've built a training business too, right? Which I think is unique, right? So like this is part of your income too, and that you're taking in other horses and building a business. But so how did you prepare? I know you said that you guys had saved some money from an emergency fund that you turned into a down payment, but was there like a point where you knew like, okay, we're going to lose so much money a month for the next 6 months before we recoup our expenses? Or did you just really feel like, hey, I'm not putting money towards board anymore, I'm gonna bounce back quicker?
That's how I kind of justified it in my head. I was like, well, all the money I basically went towards board, I'll put towards, the horse's care here. But it's still like, it definitely took me probably 6 months to kind of get to a point where I was financially like breaking even, so luckily Matt and I both had jobs. Because if it was just me by myself, I would have like gone belly up within the first half year. So it's definitely not a small financial commitment. I mean, I guess if you have, established a business before coming in, that it would be better. So I have one training horse per month, or like that I allow so it's 6 horses max, because I physically I cannot clean more than 6 stalls a day and and
it's a one-man operation. I mean, like you and your boyfriend, right? Because you don't have hired people helping. You do all the work yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just me because right now it's tax season and busy season for Matt, so he comes home at like 10 p.m. So it's just me and the dogs and the cat. But so that horse brings in $700 a month. So that basically pays for everyone's grain and shavings. Okay. So that's kind of the way that I justify it. So my training business doesn't bring me any money. It just pays for my horses to have something to sleep on and something to eat. And then everything else that I spend in supplements and vet bills and everything is still coming out of my pocket. But I mean, that's what we as horse owners, I mean, that's no different than you, even though you pay board, you still have to pay for those expenses.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So like, how do you keep yourself motivated then? Because you work another job, you contribute to Heels Down, you run a training business, and on top of like training horses, you still, you're cleaning stalls, you have to fix fences. It sounds like, do you do any of the hay work yourself too?
Oh, no, thank God Matt does that. So I have the balance of like a baby learning how to walk. So if you put me on a hay wagon and told me to stack hay, I would probably kill myself. So luckily Matt does all of the you know, baling and all that jazz, and then my job is just to help him stack it when he brings it to our hay barn. So that's, I mean, and that's when it's hotter, so it's nice. I don't have to do that when it's freezing. But most of the time, I just kind of motivate myself by saying, well, if I don't do it, there's no one I can blame for it. You know, it's not kind of like when you bored and you're like, oh, my horses could have gone out today. It didn't actually rain that hard, you know, and I can say, oh, barn manager, you should have put my horses out. It's me. So you kind of just got to bite the bullet and do it. I eat a lot of ice cream. That gets me through.
Oh my goodness. So what advice do you have for somebody like who's maybe more like me, like an amateur who enjoys taking care of her animals, who maybe sees the value in, oh, I could have a horse at home. Do you think, like, should you be realistic on you're not going to ride as much as you think you're going to ride because you're now busy doing other things?
I think it depends. Like if I had to redo it, like here's my thing. We already had 4 horses, so we couldn't have gone smaller really. But if I were you and I just had like 1 horse, I would limit myself to 2, you know, like get Mikey a companion like goat or a companion mini or something, because then you can have the time to do those things, you know, because if you just have 1 pasture, you know, in an outdoor arena and you have 2 stalls to clean, your work is tremendously less than if you have, you know, 4 pastures and, you know, too many horses to deal with.
Totally. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't think I would want something as big as what you're doing. I would have like maybe 2 horses, maybe 3, you know, tops.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that mine was small, but it's not small enough.
Oh my goodness. So what are some of like, did you have unanticipated costs, like surprises, like you said, your arena, anything else?
Oh, fencing. That was like, I mean, I knew we had to redo it, but I didn't realize just how big the pastures were. So that was definitely a cost that was not expected. But the biggest thing is, I think, equipment. So we bought our equipment with the property for like an additional, you know, I think it was 25 grand. So it was definitely, again, like a big chunk of money, but it was cheap for like the tractor and the side-by-side that we got. But the gas to keep those things running, like that's, I mean, it's diesel, so it's not cheap, you know? So like every time I go to do the stalls and I spread the manure, you know, I mean, that's like $10, you know, and that's every day, you know? So it's just like that. I think I didn't take into consideration how much that would cost. Like to drag your arena costs money, you know, to fix the fences. We had to pay for the fencing, but we also had to pay for, you know, the gas to get the tractor there to fix the posts. Like, I think the biggest thing was just like all the little things that add up.
Right. So do you set aside money for that? Is now your emergency fund like, you know, emergency barn bills?
Yeah. So we set aside, like, it's hard since ours is all the same property, right? So my water and my electric, we have a well, so the water is part of the electric bill, but it's hard to tell. Like, you can't really separate like barn water from house water because it's all the same bill. So Matt and I are like, okay, well, we'll just say like half of this is horse bill. And then we'll say, okay, so, you know, if we spent this much money, who's paying this month? And then who's going to pay for the equipment kind of thing. So we kind of bounce it back and forth. Like, oh, whoever bought groceries, you know, this week is not the one who's going to have to pay for gasoline.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
So, get a village before you
get all the buy-in.
Yeah. I mean, my friend just built her own. I mean, I think she's on 2 acres, and she just built like a little barn for her 2 horses in her backyard. She has 1 pasture. She doesn't even have an arena, you know? And like that would be like perfect, you know, because you just have 2 stalls, you know, because if you clean them every day, that's like nothing, right? And 1 pasture, it's not a lot, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, that sounds manageable. So there you have it. You guys should definitely read Ellie's story on heelsdownmag.com. We'll make sure to link to it in the show notes.
So it's that time, Justine. Rose and Thorn.
Thorn. First of 2020.
Oh boy.
Are you ready?
I am ready. Are
All right.
you?
No, you go first.
Okay. So my rose is super exciting. I actually am doing a Buck Brannaman clinic this year.
Oh, wow.
It's not till October, and I'm driving all the way to Maine to do it. But it's like definitely like childhood dream. I've followed him forever, and I'm just super excited to do it. And my mom's actually going to do it with her horse too. So I'm going to drive to Connecticut, stay the night, let the horse rest, and pick up her horse, and then we're going to go up to Maine and do a Buck Brannaman clinic together. So it'll be super exciting, and I'm going to try not to cry like I did with Margie.
Oh my gosh.
That's going to be my number 1 goal, but I probably will cry. There will be tears, I'm sure, but that is definitely my rose. I know it's not for like a million months, but I'm so excited. I'm like already like planning my trip, and I'm like, all right, we're going to do it. So I'm going to take my little horse Q, who will be 4 this year. So that's my
so
rose.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And then my thorn, unfortunately, is that people suck.
Okay.
I already posted about this in the Heels Down podcast lounge. But basically I was driving and I saw this box on the side of the road with holes drilled in it, and someone had written like Cupcake and Simba on the side, and I was like, oh man. No. I was like, I bet there are animals in there. And it was -1 outside. And so I pulled over and I look inside this box, and there are these 2 kittens. And I'm like, why does this happen to me? So long story short, I have 2 kittens now that Matt has named Luke and Leia. And they are hopefully going to be better barn cats than my old man Victor. So my thorn is that, well, it's probably Matt's thorn too, is that I got 2 more cats. And I told him, I said, it's not my fault. I didn't go out and get them. They were there and they needed me. But so they're super cute. So hopefully they can go out in the barn, and hopefully they'll be able to actually catch mice, not befriend them. So that's my thorn. Don't put animals on the side of the road.
I know, that's so sad. Aww.
What about you, Justine?
So, my rose is that I don't even know. Things are good. I don't know. Life's good. I can't complain. So, probably my rose is that I'm excited to horse show. This is obviously season down here in Florida. Everything's like, really kicking into high gear. With horse shows like Ocala's busy, Wellington's busy. I'm just excited to horse show. I feel like I've got lots of opportunities. I know my specific rose is I'm doing a first level dressage test for the first time ever, competing in it this weekend. So
that's exciting.
I know. Wish me luck. It's definitely not even close to being like perfect. So it's just a baseline. We're testing the waters, moving up, but I'm really excited. And then my thorn is just that work is kicking my butt lately. Just been a really busy start of the year. It's like the start of the legislative session in Florida. So I'm just like running around, writing a million stories. Been really busy, but it's good. I'm like the type of person who works better when I'm busy. You know what I mean? But I just feel like I'm working a lot. So that's my thorn.
Well, at least you get to unwind with Michael.
I know. So Alex is like, you're going to work this crazy week and then we're going to a horse show. He's like, this is the way you want to relax.
Yes, absolutely.
We're getting up at the crack of dawn. Oh my goodness. But all right, we've got this great mailbag from Courtney in the Facebook group, and I wanted to see what you think about it, Ellie. So Courtney has a turnout politics question, and she wants to know what to do when a new horse where you board is damaging your horse's blankets. When is it ever fair to ask another boarder to pay for your blanket repairs? And some background, she's been at her barn for almost 2 years. There's a new horse there that's being turned out in the pasture with her horse, and her horse just keeps coming in with torn up blankets. And it's pretty clear, it sounds like this new horse is the culprit. And on top of the blanket, issues, her horse also seems to have like new cuts and scrapes daily, and it's starting to stress her out. So what would you do? Because that is a tough situation, like just managing personalities, right?
Yeah. I mean, from like a barn management perspective, I would say go to your barn manager or the barn owner and see if you can get them separated. I mean, sometimes that's not possible due to space and, stuff like that. But that would be my first thing. And if that's not the case, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yes, they're animals, but at the same time, like, I feel like if I know my horse is a mouthy jerk, and he's ruined like 6 of your blankets, I'm going to buy you a blanket just because I feel bad that my horse is a jerk, even though it's not, I'm not breaking your blanket, but I'd still feel bad enough to pay for one,
Blankets are expensive.
Yeah, that's no joke, I did actually have a person who, and I'm not sure if this is a good idea for you, Courtney, but there was a person at the place I was boarding that put hot sauce on her blankets on her horse because the other horse was ripping them up so bad. Not sure if I'd recommend hot sauce, but I know there's like some sprays and stuff like for chewing and stuff that maybe would help if you sprayed some of that on your blankets.
Oh yeah, they make that for dogs too. Yeah, you can like spray that stuff on it. That's not a bad idea. I don't know where you are if it's like real wet and snowy, but it might help a little bit. But I agree with you, Ellie. If I were you, Courtney, I'd be ticked off. So, and I'd probably be telling everybody because I was mad about it, like about buying new blankets. But it's such a hard thing because if you're not there seeing it personally, you know what I mean? It's like a hard thing to bring up to somebody. So I especially like to target someone and go, your horse is doing this to my horse. So I do feel like, Ellie, you bring up good advice. Like go to your barn manager and just be like, hey, because obviously that person is seeing your horse coming in with tattered blankets every day too. So I would ask them like, hey, can we do something about this? I'm starting to go broke at this point. I don't feel like I would feel comfortable asking that person to pay for a new blanket, even though I would love for them to offer to do it. But I would just try to remedy the situation so you could like cut your losses as soon as possible.
Yeah. And if you do have to or you want to ask them, definitely do it in person. Because I feel like if you ask them over any kind of message, it's going to come off really nasty. Even if you word it really well, just talk in person.
Yep, that's a hard one. So if you have a question for us and you want us to answer it on the show, you can send us an email by going to hello@heelsdownmedia.com. Or even better, you can join our Facebook group, which is the Heels Down Happy Hour Podcast Lounge. Just search for that on Facebook, submit a request, and we'll add you to the group. And if you also want to hear more from us at Heels Down, you should subscribe to the Heels Down Brief. That's our daily email newsletter. You can do that by going to bit.ly/hdbrief. And that's it. We want to say thanks to EcoGold, our sponsor this week, and Barn Cat Hero. And all right, Ellie, first episode of the year. Cheers.
Cheers. And cheers to Baby Pain number 2.
Baby Pain. Woohoo.